Now it's time to be dangerous. Now it's time to get risky. Now it's time to truly find out what you're made of and what you could achieve. Now it's time to truly find out how many lives you can impact. Now it's time to find out what you were destined to become.
Welcome back, everybody, to Raw Minds Podcast, where we talk about the shit that nobody ever wants to touch or talk about. The grief, the healing, the truth that hurts, and the kind that saves men's lives. I'm your host, Erick, and before we dive in, please do me a favor, subscribe, follow, drop a comment, and send this to someone that really needs to hear this today. Because you never know, this episode could, save someone's lives. It's not just a conversation. It's a message for every man who's ever been told to stay quiet, and for every person that's strong enough to stand beside them. And let's face it, right now, men are dying inside and outside. Nearly 80% of all unalive themselves are people that unalive themselves are men. And that's one man every minute gone. Not because they're weak, but because they're alone, unheard, and unseen. And while the world looks the other way, we have this beautiful guest coming in, Char. She stepped in. You've most likely seen her viral clips, the ones where she stands up for men when it's easier to just stay silent. When it's easy to just sit back and let the hate fly, but nope, Char didn't do that. She built a whole team. She created a Discord server to pull men together. She made a space where men could finally breathe. She goes live on TikTok almost daily, checking in on brothers and just to be a safe space for men to vent and be heard and heal. She shows up every day, but let's not pretend it's easy at all, especially with a woman being in that type of world. It takes guts for women to stand up for men, and it's hard out there. It really is. She's being called names, faced backlash, had trolls come at her. And what I don't understand is, we're all helping each other out here. Why are people putting other people down that are helping? Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. We're all humans. But Char never folded. She stood tall, and because she knows this isn't about sides, or it's about souls. And she's living proof that one person can light a fire, but it takes a village to keep it burning. So whether you're a man who's felt invisible, or a woman trying to understand what real support looks like, or someone just tired of watching good people break in silence, this episode's for you. Char's here, the conversation is raw, and you're about to hear the truth unfiltered. Let's get into it. Welcome to Raw Minds.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm really excited. I know we've been talking for a long time now, and I'm really excited to finally have you here and talk raw and break these barriers down and hurt some feelings, I guess you could say.
100%. I can't wait. It's been a long time coming, this.
Definitely. I just want to say thank you for being here. And what brought you to this point in life? Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? What transitioned you to standing up for men?
Well, growing up, I was brought up in a very traditional British Army family, and very proudly so. My brother is a servant in the military, and that was something that filled my life quite a bit. But unfortunately, I was also brought up by a father that's a diagnosed narcissist and psychopath. And when you combine them together, it kind of gave me quite a rough childhood. I was quite fortunate enough to have a mother that always told me that just because you see your dad treating me bad doesn't mean that you should ever be discouraged from getting married. And I'm happy I listened to that, because now I have an amazing husband and a beautiful son. But at the age of 16, I was kicked out. I was homeless. And honestly, some of the men that I met on the street, I probably wouldn't even be here today if it wasn't for them. If it meant, taking their clothes off their backs to keep me warm, they would do that. If it meant protecting me and keeping me safe, they were doing that. There were sometimes some of these men, just to keep me safe, got into physical fights just to make sure that me and another young girl were safe. We're 16 years old, living on the streets and on a bench. It's not a safe place for any female to be in. And these were some of the most amazing men. And unfortunately, over the years, one of them jumped off a bridge right in front of me. The other one, I've walked in, I've seen them overdosed. And You know, a lot of it was because of stupid fucking custody battles, because women couldn't treat them properly, or they were keeping kids away from them, or divorces where they lost everything. I met so many men homeless on the street just because of divorce and custody battles and them having zero money left fighting for their children. And then on a crazy need to understand why my dad did what he did and why my dad was the way that he was, I just started studying, reading, you know, so many things on narcissistic abuse, bipolar, everything. You know, I have a dog background. I went to prison. I was an addict. I was an ex-gang member. I went through so many things at such a young age, and a lot of those things, all the people that stood there and supported me and helped me were all the people that to this day were still there for me. And over the years, I've unfortunately had to see them disappear slowly, either by suicide, addiction, or prison.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but you know what? I find that we have to go through these things. You know, it's trials, I guess it is, to put us where we are today. You know, and if you didn't go through those things, you know, as hard as it is to go through those things at the time, but if you didn't go through this, you wouldn't be sitting in this chair right now on this podcast with me in front of, and also helped all these men. And there's this thing that Anthony came on. He was my co-host before, and he says it's the starfish effect. And this little boy is on the beach, and he's throwing starfish into the water, and the beach is just covered with thousands of starfish. And this old man walks up, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm trying to save the starfish lives." And he picks it up and throws it in. And he's like, "Well, there's thousands of starfish. Like, how you're not going to save all of them?" And he picks up another one. He threw it in. He's like, "I saved that one." And that's what it is. It's like, you know, no matter what you do, you're reaching out to people out there, and you don't even know that you are, right? But you are saving these, you know, and it's just it's magical what you're doing. I just want to say that. Thank you. So
Thank you.
everything you went through, you had to go through that to be where you are today to help these other people, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
I do want to say you've gone viral multiple times with your videos. What was the one post or the video where everything just changed for you, where you realized, you know, that people were really listening and that, you know, you started to make a difference here?
In all honesty, I actually think it was one of my first ones going back nearly 3 years ago. I've been doing this for 6 years now. It's a very long time. But 3 years ago, I made a very simple TikTok. It's very old now. It's on my account somewhere, where I'm kind of sitting on the sofa and I'm just speaking my opinion of what I basically think society is doing towards men. And it wasn't because it was ever meant to be this big. I never went on TikTok and then thought this was what it was going to grow to. So I just basically spoke from my heart, and before I knew it, I woke up the next morning and it was well up over 1 million. And then my following had just gone skyrocketed, and I was not prepared for any of it. I went live, and all of a sudden I went from having like 5 people in my life to having 60 people in my lives. Then I realized, okay, maybe people actually do feel the same way as me. Maybe people do actually agree with what I think here. And that then spiraled into me doing more and more and more TikToks. And I would say right now, my most famous TikToks and what I'm known for is the fuck you TikToks, where I basically say fuck you for screwing him over. So yeah, no, I mean, I had one account shut down by feminists. There are a lot of people out there that would love to shut their accounts down that I have now. And, you know, I try and keep it raw, I try and keep it real, and I try and say it as it is, and I kind of do it with no apologies. And, you know, people are going to hate whether you do good or bad in this life. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do say if you don't have haters, you're doing it wrong, I guess, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, I would love for you to plug all your stuff there so we can send people to your ways, because what you're doing is amazing. So if you could, that would be awesome.
Definitely.
So your TikTok would be at Char, right?
Yeah, that's Char's World, and my Instagram is also Char's World, just with an S. Someone took the Z before I got there.
And anybody that's wondering, it will be in the description below. And please subscribe and follow and show her love. Like, it's what she's doing is amazing. You want me to call you Charmaine or Char? What's easier for you? I know you go by Char.
Charmaine.
Okay, Charmaine, let's do that. So you don't just make content, though, let's face it, right? You're building a community here, and you've started a Discord now, and you're with a team. and you have people that reach out, and I think that's just a beautiful thing. Why was that so important to you?
Well, the Discord thing was actually someone that came to me. It's one of my friend's girlfriend. She came to me with this idea of Discord, and I actually thought it was a really, really good idea. But what I also realized is opening a Discord up to, I have nearly 400,000 followers across all my platforms. Opening that up to so many people, there's no way in hell we were ever going to be able to manage that. So what we did is that we started it out with, if you're a subscriber, then you subscribe and then you get into Discord. So a Discord right now is running at around 60 odd people that we have in there. And what we then started, it started off with us just having like a chat thing where people could talk, and then through the meetings, because we have regular meetings, we have something called our panel, where I have the most amazing people. I've got people like Lucian, who's in Holland or who's Dutch but living in Scotland. I've got people like Butters. If you're on TikTok, you definitely know who Butters is, which she is raw as they come. I mean, this girl, you don't want to piss her off. She's a redneck, and again, she keeps it real. I have her husband in there. So, and I have John as well that does a lot of PR work. So we kind of have that bit where we're kind of running all of it and trying to keep it all under control. And then we have all our absolutely amazing moderators, and we couldn't do it without our moderators, and having meetings with them as well on what do we need to keep an eye on, who do we potentially need to block, and what do they need to do if they see someone in the comments that it is potentially suicidal. So then the suicidal bit came, and I was like, I think we need to make a hotline.
Oh, wow.
I'm qualified between student nursing. Butters was qualified because of nursing. Lucian and John are old firemen. They've both been firemen, so they were qualified as well. So we then all realized that, hey, we got the qualifications to cover this and to do this, so let's open this. So we opened our hotline, and it went a few days. There wasn't really anything, thank God. And then one night, it was like that. We had 11 hotlines, and we had to get EMTs out to one guy, and they got there, thank God, in time, and we got that sorted. And then the night after that, it was 24 people, and it just kept on. And to this day, we've not lost one guy. Yeah, we're still making sure that they get help, and we're very lucky to have Tim, who's a qualified psychiatrist, who comes in and helps us and is doing a lot of pro bono work to give support to men and giving them advice and what they can do and how they can kind of help themselves as well. So the Discord was something that we're building on every single day, but I honestly couldn't recommend it anymore to anyone. Of course, there's added benefits. You're the first one to know, like if I'm doing a broadcast with you, or you're the first one to know about the events, you're the first one to know things. Of course, there's those luxury things with it, but the community in there is so raw and so beautiful. And to see how these men are speaking to each other and making friendships, and them realizing, hey, I'm not alone, that is amazing to sit there and see. But I couldn't do it without my team. That's 100%.
That's beautiful. And see, like I said before, is you had to go through those things to make this, to help other men. And it's a beautiful thing. And like I said, I call it from pain to power, right? This is how Raw Mind was born, right? From pain to power. So
exactly,
it's amazing. It's amazing. I want to talk about you go TikTok live a lot, right? And a lot of people come in and share. What's it like being in that space with men in real time, showing up constantly?
I don't really think about it so much anymore. Those lives to me is just like a daily thing that I do. I personally, I love it. Sometimes it gets heated in there. Sometimes we have the most funniest comedy nights, especially if my husband and my husband gets into the boxes, that live is about to become a comedy show. And laughter is one of the best cures. You're laughing, you really are feeling good. And then there's times where you get people in and you think, fuck, this person really needs that support, really needs that help. And that's where we can gift away subscriptions, and we do it very quickly. And we're like, okay, we need to get you on Discord. We need to get a hold of Tim, and we need to get our psychiatrist in to speak to you. So, I don't think I think too much about it more. I'd say now that I've grown, it's kind of become more hectic in there. It's a little bit harder to keep up, but honestly, I love it. And these men that come up and speak in the boxes, or whether they're making a comment in there, that's a really big step for men to be doing in the first place, to be in that vulnerable position. So, I give them every bit of credit for those lives. I really just sit there and, sometimes we have the debates that needs to be happened in there. And it's giving them a platform where they're being heard. No judgment,
Well, and that's like, me, I'm in your lives, right? And it's just beautiful what you do. And I see these these men, reaching out, and it's amazing. You give a safe space, and it shows other people that are watching this, and maybe even encourages them to speak out, because they're seeing other men speak out. And that's what it is, and it's, you always just need that one person to kind of, start it, and it's kind of like a domino effect. And what's happening in your lives is beautiful. And I've seen you even like reach out when people needed help right away, and you get them in, and I've seen how fast and active you're on it right away. So I just want to say I appreciate that. That's just amazing
No, I
what you
really
do.
appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I mean, there's one thing I always say to all my moderators and to my team. If it's a feminist that comes in, if it's a female, don't block them. Let them come up,
Hmm.
let them say what they got to say, because either way, we're going to shut down their opinions very quickly. So no, I try, just like you're doing here, keeping it raw. That's the same thing I try and do on my
Yeah.
lives, to try and keep it very raw, and yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think we've created a very
Yeah.
beautiful community there.
Yeah, definitely. And you are like raw, like you will tell like someone straight up, and that's what they need to hear. Like, yeah, okay, you're a fucking idiot, but at least you're doing the work, like this,
Yeah.
or like this is what you have to do, and
No, I
you
totally,
like,
I totally get men that
yeah,
come up and say, like, listen, Char, I cheated on my wife. And I'm like, well, that was a fucking stupid thing to do. But
yeah,
listen, at least you know. So now what are we going to do with it, right? Like, now we need to move
yeah,
on. But then on the other side of it, I also can get a man that comes up and say, Char, what do I do? I lost everything and I've got 4 kids and I'm going through court and I don't know how to deal with it. And then you got to go through that whole process. And I think
yeah,
that's where we are so different from so many other people, is that we're so internationally based. We have people in the UK, Australia, Canada. We have people in America, here in Scandinavia. I'm in Denmark, and we have people all over. And I think that is what also just helps that dynamic so much, that if you come in there and say something that I maybe don't know, there's someone else in the team that's going to know, and they're going to jump on that really quick.
yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. Like I said, you started, but you need a village to keep the fire lit. And God, I'll tell you, that flame is blue, and it's huge. So good
Yeah,
for
it
you.
is. We're here.
Yeah. And I just want to give a shout out too to like your whole team. Like I don't know them all or anything, but I think that that's it's amazing what they're doing. So shout out to the whole team there and your Discord, and one love from Raw Minds, man. We appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all. So
I
thank you.
appreciate that.
So talking about feminists and backlash and stuff like that, what kind of heat have you gotten for speaking up, like especially for women and online feminist spaces?
I mean, I get everything from she's a pick me girl, she's just doing this for money. All her TikTok gifts are going to this, they go into that. I think that's a misconception, that I get paid a shit ton of money for my TikToks, and then people don't really realize that, hey, she lives in Denmark. We don't have the creator fund here in Denmark. We can't get that. You can only get that in the US and in the UK. So we don't get any of those benefits. So there's a lot of that going around, that's the typical TikTok crap that you also get. I think where it goes more deep is when it's definitely when the death threats come. I think it's quite crazy that people are willing to go to death threats and go to those levels. I try specifically now not to speak too much about my son. I'm very careful saying his name on a live or anything like that. I keep, my family very protected from that. We've got to a point now that even in my team as well, they've had to go to extreme lengths to kind of hide their Facebook pages and anything to do, not to post their kids on there or anything to do with that. I mean, even whilst we're talking now, I can see someone is in the comments, Hayden, that's going down as well. False allegations on the highest levels as well. So that's what it is, and that's what people are going to do. Some people really want to take you down, and I'm all here for it. If they want to do that, I think they should crack on. But listen, we're going to do our thing over here. We're going to keep
Yeah.
our focus, and we're going to be here for men, and we're going to speak out for men. We're going to be loud and obnoxious about it, and anyone that doesn't like it, well, carry on hating, but go home and cry to your mum. We just don't have the time for it.
I totally agree, and that's why I'm just leaving in there to show them, like, yeah, you don't bug us. You can say whatever you want, but I mean, it doesn't
Exactly.
matter to me. You just don't put your energy into that shit, right?
No.
At the end of the day, right?
There's you get to a time, I would say, like maybe 3 years ago, I was clapping back a lot to the hate
Yeah.
comments, and I was really, like, I would get really angry, like generally pissed off about it, and I would just go for it. Whereas now I'm kind of like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool, do you, whatever. We don't have the time to deal with it. We got better things to deal with, and that's what we're gonna do. one thing I'll say is, to a certain extent, I am an influencer, and that's why I've always been very open and very honest about the fact, hey, listen, I went to prison for fraud. I was a dickhead. I messed up, But my mess up and my mistakes and the billboard of mistakes and failures I've got are now here to help and create other people, and I think that's beautiful. And I think it's beautiful when we get, ex-felons coming to us and then helping them rebuild again after coming out of prison for whatever wrongdoings they've done and learning to live with that as well. There are plenty of men that come to us from those kind of backgrounds, and being able to give them a support because where they were coming from is beautiful.
Yeah, and the work that you do too. Like I've seen and watched, like I said, your lives. You walk a person really right through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the old saying? You can either, if your son says, I'm hungry, you can either go buy the fish or you can teach them how to fish, right? And that's what you guys do. You teach these men how to fish.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So thank you again. I'm going to say thank you so much because I believe what you're doing is amazing.
I appreciate it.
Do you ever feel pressure, like you're carrying the emotional weight of like so much on your shoulders? And if you do, what keeps you going to get rid of that heaviness? Like, what do you do for yourself?
I honestly, in the beginning, I did. I felt there was a lot of pressure, especially when I started going viral as much as I did. It was nearly every other TikTok, and it just went so fast and so crazy so quickly. I felt like there was a lot of pressure. Now, not so much. I've kind of learned through the years to take a step back. I've learned to say, like, hey, you know what? Like, just now, like, I wasn't feeling too great over the weekend, so I took those days off. So I think a big part of it as well is just learning to look after yourself and checking in with yourself as well. And I say this within my team as well, please check in with yourself and how you're feeling, because when you do that, you kind of know, hey, I need to take a step back. I need that time off. And because I'm doing that, there's not so much pressure. When the pressure is there, I have a tendency to go to my husband and say, I'm getting so stressed out with this now. And, my husband for me is a huge role model. He's someone that I look up to quite a lot. So he's very good at calming me down and making me think clearly again.
Yeah, and it's good to have a support group there. He's your rock is what it is, and yeah.
He is. He's definitely my rock, and I think as well within the team we're very good at being each other's rocks. And we'll do sometimes where I'll just message in there and say to the people, to the whole panel, and I we're not going live tonight, and then we'll do a family night instead where we sit down and we just goof around and just talk and let that loose and let that out that we've been doing. Especially because some of us have got normal jobs on the side. I've just enrolled back into business school. I've got a 2.5-year-old. I'm also a mother. There's a lot of things to keep track of.
Definitely. You got your hands full. Plus, then you got your community. You're doing the lives. You're trying to get your channel. Everything. You're packed. Definitely. So you need it's okay. I'm gonna tell this to anybody out there too. Like, if you're feeling down, it's okay to take a knee. It's okay to take a knee, but it's not okay to stay down. As long as you get up. And for the women out there too. I mean, there is women that watch. There's actually 40%. And it's okay if your crown or your tiara krill, goes to the side of your head for a little bit. Just don't let that bitch fall off. Put it right back up there and keep on going. I just wanted to push that out there so anybody listening. What's something that you learned about men since you started this whole thing and shocked you or broke you that you heard? Like, not saying stories, but just like in general, like, I don't want to put anybody onto the spot there.
That men really do get treated worse than dogs. That broke me. And that was something I realized really, I think you have an idea of it. I personally had an idea of it when I started all of this. Now that I'm 6 years in, it's to a point where we're not even treating them like dogs anymore. It's to a point where we would rather treat anything better than a man. We have this ideology in society that men are robots. They shouldn't feel anything. They should just man up, right? And I fucking hate that phrase there, man up. I hate it. And there's got to be a limit to this. Like, men are not AI. They're not robots, guys. Like, they do feel, they do have emotions. They need rest. They need sleep. They need someone to talk to. They have the same basic needs that any female out there has. But in society, we like to even think about that or even speak about that. And that was when I realized that we actually treat dogs better, because if you have a dog, you're willing to feed it and let it sleep and you take it for a walk and stuff like that. shit, there were some men out there that are coming home. They don't even get asked, how was your day at work? Do you want something
Mhm.
to eat? Do you need a shower? Do you need some sleep? Like, do you need rest? Do you need a holiday? Like, they're not even doing that. Like, those needs are not even being met by some, wives or friends or whoever you may be. That's one of the most saddest things for me is to know that
Mhm.
we're at a stage where we actually treat our pets much better than we do men. And that was a very, very scary thing to think of as well.
Mhm.
And to every
Yeah,
time I speak about it, it gets me emotional because a lot of these men, we're living in tough times right now here in this world. There's a lot of wars going on, and a lot of these men are the ones that would be called up to go and fight these wars. But we can't even treat them with an ounce of respect. We're already treating veterans right now like shit. A lot of them are homeless.
yeah,
They're in active addiction, and they're in prison or alcoholics. And there seems to be a very trending thing that we're seeing with a lot of veterans right now. So I think it's
Mhm.
scary.
Definitely. Like, I would say, like, as a man, I was told, when I was like, oh, I'm depressed, oh, suck it up, be a man, like, you'll get over it. And it sucks because it's generational. What it is technically generational trauma. And that's what their parents were taught, and their parents, and so on and so on. And it's all about breaking that chain. You are enough, and you are allowed to have feelings, and it is okay to cry. I'm a man, and I'm proud to say that I've cried, because that's how I release my emotions, and it's okay to do that. It really is. So I've read the comments and the DMs, right, of, like, a lot of heartbreaking stuff. What's the most heartbreaking thing a man has ever shared with you? If you feel comfortable saying it.
I mean, I don't know if I have one in particular. I can give you the scenario that I hear on a daily. That's probably the most
Yeah,
heartbreaking ones to hear. I don't know if I have one specific because there's so many at this point.
yeah.
There's 6 years and this is a lot.
Well, let's face it, they're all
Yeah,
just
they all
brutal.
are in their own different ways, but the ones that will always pull at your heartstrings is the custody battles.
Yeah,
If you want to see
yeah,
a man real broken, you take his kids away from him. That's when you see a man really broken.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
that's pain that you can't even you can't. And as a mother myself, I could not imagine that pain. And I could never in a million years do that to my own husband. I think my husband, no matter what goes on between me and him, he's the most amazing father in the world. He really
Yeah,
is. And to see what some of these men are going through and to see them be that broken, that we have this phrase that all women, they tend to use, and not all women, but majority of saying that men are deadbeat dads, that deadbeat
yeah.
dad thing. And I always say to men, listen, if someone ever calls you a deadbeat dad, then they must be a deadbeat mother, because no mother in their rightful mind or in their sanity would ever keep a child away from the father, ever.
Well, I don't. I totally agree with that, and I'm gonna say something, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit at it. So you can email me at rawminds@podcast.com or at Gmail. But I think that, and here it goes, there would be a lot more deadbeat mothers out there if there was no government assistance. And
Yeah.
it's the truth. I'm sorry to say it, but it really is the truth. Like
No,
it.
but I think I do think in society today as well, we're making it very easy to be a single mother. If you think about it, you
Yeah.
you are almost in some countries, including my country, if you're a single mother, you're making a better income than you are if you're together with the father. You're going to be
Yeah.
sitting a lot more secure financially than what you are when you're with the father. And I think when that is the position that we are holding at that point, as a society, we're also asking families to be broken, and we're not really thinking of the kids and all of that anymore. We're just thinking of
No.
the financial gain. Not to mention, if you know what some of these dads are paying for
Yeah.
children they're not even allowed to see.
Yeah.
No, that's heartbreaking. Absolutely
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Well, and like, to just go back to what I was saying, is because, like, when like, you're expected to have a job, and like, my buddy, this is why I say this, because my buddy's going through something like this, and I'm helping him walk through it all right now, and I'm telling you, he's just breaks my heart what he's going through right now. It's a hell of a time. He keeps on getting his kid taken away because of lies, and it's just horrible. And they want him to be able to work, but yet the other person, his partner, or not partner, but the mother, is, on assistance, everything, but they won't. There's like some rules that they're trying to put in place, that he's got to have a job in this to be able to see his kid. Like, it's gone to extreme. Like, this person has gone extreme to try to do everything she can to take away the kid, to the point where he had his son, and then his son went back to his mom's, and she said she made some claims, very disgusting claims, and the kid had to get checked out, and everything was fine after. It was just disgusting, like the things that a lot of women put men through. And I'm not just saying just women too. I mean, it's both ways, don't get me wrong, but I mean, this is a men's mental health podcast, so this is what we're going to talk about. And it's disgusting what, like, using your kid as a pawn and bringing your emotions, because whatever you guys had, and using that kid as a pawn, and now that kid is hurting, and it grinds my gears, because it happened to me 15. My kid's mom ran away with my daughter for 3 months. I got super depressed. I couldn't find my daughter, and I ended up trying to unalive myself, and woke up 2 days in the hospital out of a coma. Didn't even know what the hell happened.
I'm sorry.
And at that, yeah, I mean, it made me who I am. It did, but it affects my daughter too. She doesn't get to see her dad for 3 years. Or 3 months. Sorry. And it was hard. But then I woke up and I was like, I didn't even know what happened. I didn't even know where I was, and I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I'm like, I can't do this. This little girl needs me. Her mom wasn't well at the time. That's right. My daughter was viciously mauled by a dog and had 400 stitches in her head, from her forehead all the way down to the chin. And then her mom just kind of went off the rails because she blamed herself for it. It was just a whole mix of shit that just happened, right? But like, so I've been there, and I know what it feels like to like not be able to see your kid be taken, and it sucks. So any man that's going through that, man, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep on fighting, and take the high route. The high route. That's what it's about,
And
That's
keep receipts.
at the end of the day. Yes, yeah.
Text
Definitely.
messages, phone calls, all of it, keep them.
And yeah, like document. A big thing I'm going to tell you guys too is, like, when you do document all your stuff, write down the weather, what the weather is like that day, because then you can go back, you're like, no, this is true. You check the weather on that day, so you have everything that you have in your arsenal, I guess you could say, and use ChatGPT. I mean, there's a lawyer thing there. If you got some questions, use the resources you can. If you don't got the money, it's out there. Reach out to Raw Minds. I'm here to help. I know Char too, and there's many more creators out there that are willing to help. So, I mean, keep your heads up. I just wanted to say that. What's been your most proudest moment since stepping into this mission?
I think it's probably where I'm at now. It's funny because my team keeps telling me, like, Char, you're famous. You're famous.
Mm-hmm.
You're famous. And I'm like, I don't see myself that way, by the way. I really don't. I know the haters out there, they like to say that I do, but I honestly don't. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. You can see I start itching. I get very uncomfortable with that whole famous bit. But I think my proudest moment has got to be where I'm at right now. The team that I have, the support that's there, what we've been able to do with Discord, the broadcast that we're doing now to get that more insight. I've kind of been neglecting Instagram for quite a long time. I always thought I couldn't stand Instagram.
Don't worry.
Because Instagram, let me just tell you, everyone, okay, it's a whole other goddamn game out there. And I started posting all my stuff on Instagram. I think maybe 3 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden there's 40,000 followers there, and that to me was like, okay, shit, like this is actually becoming a real thing. And then, I'm scrolling through Facebook, and all of a sudden one of my videos are there, or that, the next thing to tackle now is YouTube, which we're trying to. There's just none of us can edit, so it's kind of a bit of a nightmare. So I think the proudest moment is just where we're at now. I think we're at that stage right now where we're just, we just keep going up, and we just keep thriving. And every time someone tries to knock us down, we're still getting up that 10 times stronger. And, it's really one of those things. Every time people are trying to take us down, well, guess what? We're just getting stronger. And then, to be able to do, to be in the position that I'm with TikTok now as well, being in legacy clubs and so on, and being at that level now as well. Being in a small country like I'm in, and having the following that we have, and you'll always hear me say we, because it's not just me. There is a team behind me, and there is a huge amount of support there. To know that we are some of the leading platform for men's rights and men's mental health right now, I think that's got to be my proudest moment.
Love it. Yeah, you guys are killing it. And again, once again, thank you, team. I appreciate all you guys doing the work. I just wanted to say that. Why do you think that society is so quick to label empathy for men as weakness, or call women pick me? when they should show compassion. And what do you think that says that we are right now in this world?
I think that unfortunately, I'm a 90s baby. I was born in 1992, guys. I'm old, okay? I was born before even Google was here. So, let me tell you something. When what we saw in the 90s and what we saw back then, it was, it was a whole different world to what we're living in now. And it was a different way of living. I think what we're seeing now in modern day society is, again, when we started this whole hashtag Me Too campaign, the whole
Hmm.
hashtag Me Too, that just went crazy right there. That really set that really foot and stall for radical feminism to go absolutely crazy and to really target men. I say this all the time. You can go on Netflix now and then try and watch as many movies as you can in a night and see how many times, especially in thrillers, how many times the man is the bad guy.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that as a society, what we've done is that we have naturally labeled men as the bad guys. It's, you if a man has done anything really really bad, like let's say it's murder or it's DB or whatever, we really focus on that. But when it's a woman that's done DB or whatever, we're not going to talk about that. We have those black figures over there. So we also in society now have created this whole nostalgic thing of men are the bad guys, they're the wolves, go for them, don't be with them. Then we got this hashtag Me Too, and we have feminists saying that women need to be strong and independent, where the truth is, there's actually a lot of women out there that are incredibly independent and in the most amazing marriages, and they are
Yeah,
thriving and got their own businesses, and they're doing absolutely amazing.
definitely.
So no, I think we as a society, unfortunately, have also created this whole thing with, men are robots. They're not. We don't see them. We don't speak about them, and it's not to be spoken about. And I'm kind of the first one to like, yeah, fuck off to that.
Yeah, good for you. And you know what? A lot of people think men only have two emotions, and it's just happy and anger. You
Yeah,
know, and that's what it is, and that's what they portray us as is more more or less anger at the end of the day. But we have all the same emotions that women do. It's just we weren't really taught to use them properly, or when we tried to, we were just torn down.
but I
Saying
think
that's not
that's
strength.
that's also the thing. I mean, I always live by, and it's even in my logo that evil has no gender.
Hmm.
If you're an evil person, that's got nothing to do with what gender you have. That's got everything to do with the person that you are and your personality. And I think that is such an important thing to keep a hold of. And furthermore, I would also turn around and say that especially growing up, men are always taught in the traditional way, pull a chair out for a woman, open the door for her, do this, do that for a woman. And then as a little girl, I'm grateful that, I had someone like my grandfather that always taught me, you also got to be respectful to a man. My grandfather was very big in that role in my life. And we're not teaching little girls how to treat men. We're not teaching them how to
Hmm.
do those things anymore. It's crazy now that when I'm even just laying in bed scrolling through TikTok and I'm seeing, we're talking about how many, like Bonnie Blue, how many can she sleep
Yeah.
with? Or, we're seeing the girls with their asses halfway out, or and it's like, well, women should be allowed to have on whatever they want to have on. And it's like, yeah, but why is it such a big thing that we have to look almost naked? Why is it gone to these extreme levels now? And if a man then even looks that direction, which is a natural instinct for any man to do, FYI, then now he's the bad guy. God, no,
Hmm.
he shouldn't have looked. It's we built a society now where men are literally set up for failure. And
Hmm.
like I said, that for us over on this side, that's something we're shouting and screaming about. That's just not on, and it's just not okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. And actually, me and my buddy were walking down the street one time, and this girl's walking in front of us, and she had like a little short skirt on. My buddy was looking at her butt because it was sticking out, and she turns around. She's like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" And my buddy's like, "Well, your butt." And she's like, "What the hell, you pervert?" He's like, "I'm the pervert. You're the one walking around like this. It's not, you want this attention, and now you're getting mad at me because you're flaunting this attention, and then you got it. Now you're getting mad at me." And it was just
Exactly.
it was a crazy thing to experience though, just like the back and forth. It was wild.
And I do this on my TikToks all the time. I sometimes tell people, go in on TikTok and just scroll through and then see how many times you see men get used. When I see, if I post anything about my son and I'm like, I'm teaching my son to, I'm a horrible, why would I ever teach my son to do that? Straight away like that. Even as a boy mum, and boy mums, you're not alone out there. We're all feeling it. We are getting judged all the goddamn time when it comes to our boys. So already there it's starting. It's starting even, when they are born. In that moment, you got a boy, get ready, you're going to get judged. And that to me is so sad. But what I think is even more sad is when you're scrolling through TikTok and then you're seeing wives go over to their husbands and do this just to get money, and you're seeing the daughter stand next to their mom and then she goes over to her dad and she does this. Already there, you're teaching something that is so unhealthy, so toxic to this beautiful little girl that could grow up and be the most independent woman, run her own company, and do all this. And there's nothing wrong with that, ladies. There's nothing wrong for that. Okay, I'm like that. I'm the most independent woman you'll meet until I see a spider or whatever. Trust me, I'm screaming for my husband. I can promise you. You can see it in my lives. It happens in my lives all the time. We're also teaching. I would say, like, mothers today are also teaching young girls to be incredibly toxic. And I think that we're seeing that because especially when we look at bullying within girls, those rates are just going up and up and up. It's the same with boys. They're just going up and up and up. So at what point in society do we turn around and say enough is enough? I mean, that's not my area, young children, but I will say for men, we're here now and we're saying enough is enough and we're done with the bullshit. Men are allowed to feel, they're allowed to speak, and they're allowed to think, and they're allowed to breathe. And, we're going to keep screaming now.
Definitely. Love it. Thank you for that. That's yeah, people need to hear these things, and it's true, especially from a woman too, right? So thank you again.
Yeah. No, you're welcome.
I do want to circle back though, about that Me Too thing. I actually had a Me Too act try to happen on me. So I was dating this girl, and the romantic thing wasn't right there, and I told her, let her down. She wasn't happy about it, obviously, but it just wasn't feeling it. And then I would say about 9 months later, that's when I met my fiance, and I was posting pictures of us, all happy. Next thing you know, couple days later, after I posted, we went on a vacation, posted some pictures. A couple days later, this person that I dated before went onto my Facebook, messaged every woman, because she wasn't on my Facebook, so anybody that liked my pictures, and that was women, messaged every single woman, had this copy and paste, and she pasted it to probably a good 40 or so women on my Facebook. And it was like, I'm a cheater, I'm a wife beater, I'm a rapist, I'm all this stuff. And I was so lucky that she sent me messages like on her account saying, I'm going to fuck your life over. Just wait. Everybody's going to hate you, blah, blah, blah. And I was so lucky. So I'm sitting there. All of a sudden I'm getting all these messages and I'm like, what the hell? And it's like all my friends messaging like, look, this person, like this crazy chick's doing this, trying to do all this. And then all of a sudden my fiance's phone, she's sitting beside me. It goes ding. And I look over and she's reading it. She just looks at me and she's like, don't worry, honey. I don't believe you. This is crazy. And I was showing her. And then I had the cops calling me, and they're like, oh, there's some, we're hearing all this stuff, then it's not good. I'm like, hey, man, what's your email? I have all this stuff. Let me send it to you. She was driving by my house. My dog passed away. My friend came over because I didn't have my car at the time to help me. My dog was dead, to help me bring it to the vet. She's driving by my house, taking pictures and sending it to my fiance. Hey, there's someone at your house. He's cheating on you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you're a psycho. Like, why are you coming by my house, like our house, and taking pictures? She's like, I'm going to an appointment. Well, we live at the top of the mountain. There's no fucking appointments up there unless your appointment is to fucking jump. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
fuck?
She's deathly scared. She was saying she's deathly scared of me, but yet you're driving by my house and taking pictures. It was wild, So like, I know what it's like. Like, I was scared though, Like,
yeah.
I could have lost everything in my life. Like, I could be sitting in jail for something that I didn't do, and it's disgusting. What like this whole Me Too Act thing is.
Yeah. It is, and and the thing is, I totally feel you on that, because there are some crazy ass people out there. I get
Yeah.
comments and things in my message as well. Your husband's doing this, your husband's doing that, and I already know that it's from haters. Even I have this little group that are kind of going for me, and they go as far as even going for my kid. So I'm gonna say this now to everyone out there that's listening to this. There's some crazy ass people out there. Um, and there's some crazy ass women out there. And that story that you told me there, I hear that all the fucking time. It's a daily thing for me hearing that. Girls, it's not attractive. It's just not attractive. You are labeled as cray cray when you do that. You really are cray cray and need to go and seek help when you're doing that kind of shit, because you really are messing with someone's life. But I think that's unfortunately also just the times that we are in now, is that it's, especially on social media, it's become such an easy thing to go for people and to go for their lives and to target family and to target children, and it's sad that people would go to those extents, and it's sad that people would go to those levels, and driving past houses and taking pictures and got an appointment on top of a mountain. It's crazy, and you're lucky to have an amazing fiance that could kind of see through that. But I will say that majority of women do have that bullshit radar when it comes to other women. We know pretty quick when it's bullshit.
Oh yeah, especially when like it's just, and it was different names too. Like it was wild. I'm telling you, wild. But me and my fiance, God rest her soul, she's passed away now. But we both, got restraining orders, so she couldn't come around the place. It was wild. Like it was. Yeah, I really hope no one else has to go through that, because like I said, it's scary. And there is men sitting in jail for things that they never did.
There is.
Yeah.
I actually recently had a follower of mine who sent me this really, really long message, and God forbid, I didn't have the time that day to read it. So it was one of them where I had to say, okay, I'm going to come back to this. Mm-hmm. He sent me this long message on Instagram, and he's actually told me it's okay for me to say this on my lives and so on. And he was falsely accused and ended up doing 22 years in prison in America for alleged on his ex-wife, to then find out that because she had done the same allegations on several other men, the whole thing was looked at again, and because it was all looked at again, he ended up walking free from that. But he still lost out on a lot of life there, and he really, really wanted to have children, but unfortunately he's now battling stage 4 cancer and doesn't have long left. So he wanted he wanted to have his story out there and told, so people heard that. And that's what I mean by there's some of those things that I get in my messages and I get to read where they're just so heartbreaking, and you're just, how do you deal with that? So there are men out there that really are sitting in prison on false allegations. They really are.
Yeah, and it's very sad, very sad. I do want to touch on this. So you are raising a son, and that's awesome. Yeah. Right? I know it's probably a challenge. I know I was a challenge to my parents, I'll tell you that. Yeah. Don't worry, I got an 11-year-old and she's going through puberty right now, so that's my challenge.
Good luck. You got it worse than me
then. I've been proactive. Like when she was in school around summer now, I'd put pads in there, doing the right thing. So dads, if your daughter is going through that, do the smart thing. Put pads in their backpack, and so they're not embarrassed. It's the right thing to do, right? I was told this, and I'm passing on that message. It's a great thing. But I do want to say, what would you teach him? Like, what would you teach your son about emotional strength and asking for help?
Well, I have this thing where, my son's only 2.5 years old. So, right now it's kind of, right now you're kind of just teaching him to put sentences together so you can actually understand what it is he needs. But when he grows up, I'll always tell my son that, come and tell me if you need an emotional day, where you just need a depressed day. If you need a day off school because it becomes too much and it becomes too overwhelming, come and tell me and your dad, because we'll do it. If we think the reasons and the grounds and that are good enough, we'll do that day. And then we'll sit down and we'll have a talk that evening and we'll find out what the solution is and why you're so overwhelmed. Another thing for me, and mums, this is just from a mother, from a boy mum. I only have one child. I can't have any more kids. And I can honestly say with a boy, me and my husband have this little energetic fireball that is jumping everywhere, crawling on everything. And he will even turn around to him and say, he's a monkey. He will tell you himself he's a monkey. And, we've spoken about putting him into things where he can just run, like gymnastics, or, learning him to control his body, but also things like boxing or jiu-jitsu or MMA or whatever it is, these things, because there's such good ways as well of just teaching little boys how to control their anger and how to keep that sense of control whenever they're in those situations. And that's something I'm definitely thinking of as well. But I'll always tell my son one thing: if you're in trouble, come home. You need me, come home. Don't call, just come home. Whatever's going on in your life, come home. But I think for me, what's mostly important to teach him is what kind of wife he should go for. So I try and lead by example in that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, my biggest fear is him coming home with a feminist, or him coming home and telling me that his wife is taking his kids away from him. That's some of my biggest fears. But I'm trying. I try my best to teach him how to regulate his feelings and understand it's okay to have days where you need a break.
Yeah, and you know what? It is the sad truth too about, like, that's the reality we live in nowadays. Is we live in the breakup and be single parent reality, and it's really sad.
Yeah,
it really is.
I couldn't do it without my husband. That's for sure. I wouldn't want to be a single mom. I couldn't do it without my husband. And what I love about my husband is he's not one of those men that's going to turn around and say man up to his son or whatever, but he is going to guide his son in the most positive and in such a beautiful way. And it is, honest to God, as a mother and as a wife, standing there and seeing those two together and seeing my son and how big of a role model his dad is to him as well. It's just such a beautiful thing. And that's why I can't understand why you would keep a father away from this. To my son, his dad is a superhero, and so he should be, and so he shall remain. And I think that is beautiful. And I'll forever tell my son, if you ever want to know what a real man is, go and look at your dad, because that's
beautiful.
That's a man that's beyond anything, honestly.
And a safe space too. You guys give him a safe space, and that's the biggest thing is, he feels safe. And if he gets, when he's older, if he gets in trouble with something, he knows that, he can tell you still, and it still will be a safe space.
Yep. Always.
And that's what we have to train these kids, that definitely, it's okay. What's one double standard that you want to see gone, erased, when it comes to society and how it treats men?
Whew, that's a lot. I think
all of them.
That's a really good one. I would say one of the double standards is definitely within family law. Family law needs to change. This whole thing that a mother can provide better because we're looking at the emotional needs of a child. No, that's a double standard. There are plenty of men out there that are doing everything. They're doing 12-hour night shifts, coming home, taking their kids to nursery and, making breakfast for them and then picking them up again later on in the day. And so there is a double standard. We have this thing that we think that men can't do a good enough job as a mother can. That's absolute BS. There's actually dads out there that would say they do actually a better job than some mothers do. So, yeah. Stop.
I mean, there's a balance. I would have to say, like, I don't want to knock anybody, right? There is a balance.
There is a balance. There is.
Okay, I just want to get into this a little heavy here. We're running a little at the end here, but I just want to get into some little bit heavy stuff, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I want to say, let's talk a little bit about the rise in men's choosing to unlive themselves. Why do you think this is happening, and why aren't we hearing about it more?
Well, first of all, you're not hearing about it more because that would be a taboo. If we were to actually say how many men are unaliving themselves, that would be a nightmare. Also, we have the saying 1 a minute. We can't actually identify that it's 1 a minute. It's actually more like 30 seconds because we also have something called secondhand suicide, and we don't really speak about secondhand suicide. Men are incredibly prideful. Their pride is on a very high level. So a lot of men, when it comes to suicide, they don't want their families or spouses or kids to think that they actually went ahead and killed themselves. So they'll do it by a secondhand suicide, so accidental death. So we have, when it comes to men, and if you look at men's death toll, there's a lot of accidental deaths. A lot. Lost control of the car, went into the tree, right? So it's that secondhand suicide, or they're the figures that you really want to be keeping, really be putting into that suicidal side of what we're seeing. So that 1 a minute thing, no, we could kind of put that down to 30 seconds.
Okay.
On the other hand of that as well, we just don't have there's just not enough therapy. If you actually look at a lot of the therapy we have today, a lot of therapy is tested on women and pregnant women. there's not so much of it that's tested on men.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So a lot of the therapy that men actually need is it's when you're testing it on women that are emotionally led, and then you have men that are logically led. So when you have a man that's logically led and he's going into a therapist, and the therapist is essentially trying to figure out his mind, majority of men, especially if you're like my husband, he'll already know what you're doing. He's already seen every single step ahead of that. He's well ahead of the game. So we're not creating that safe space. We're not creating that space for a man to be vulnerable without judgment, because he already knows what you're doing. He's already clicked onto it. That's an issue right there. So we have huge issues within therapy. We also have a lot of big issues that in psychiatric units. So if you're a man with schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever, the majority of these units, they are maxed out. There's not enough space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another issue we have. So we're struggling to keep men safe in that stage. But then we also have the other thing, the fucking hotlines. And I'm going to say this in the most respectful and nicest way, because I am on your broadcast. I would have said it another way on my live.
No, hey, this is raw mind. You just, give her.
Since we have this whole thing with transgenders coming out, there are more hotlines in place that run 24/7 for transgenders than they do for men. For men, it's between 4 and midnight, or 12 to 12. There's a time frame. So guys, guess what? Pick a time that you feel like shit, and then you can ring there. Come on. Really?
I didn't even know that.
So a lot of the hotlines now, they're not enough. We don't have enough. I have a Discord with 60 people. I've done a weekend where I had over 50 people that needed it. And we have a team of 4 people that can handle hotlines. That's some nights we're sitting with 6 hotlines at a time. Because then when you tell them, hey, call this hotline, and then they call them, they're like, oh, they don't have time right now. So what the hell what do you want to do then? And then on the same time as that, you have men, and I've seen this scenario so many times, because my team have had to make the calls where they're having to call into police and ambulance and so on. They just disappear. They walk out the house and they disappear. It's really not a joke. If you have a husband that takes his car keys, doesn't say anything, gets in the car, please get in the car with him, because he's more likely not to crash that car when you're in it. That's look at the warning signs, because they are there. So there's so many things on so many levels that are going wrong. Also politically going wrong. So it's such a big area of things here that are going wrong. So no wonder that we're seeing the suicide rates that we are seeing within men, but at the same time, society's not really doing anything to get those suicide rates down.
Yeah.
Because we're not changing anything.
In just a month, they give a month for it, but let's face it, it's just a calendar, like it's just a name. We need this like going on every day. And what grinds my gears though is it's the same month as Pride. Like I'm all for Pride, whatever, you know what I mean? There's no hate. I have friends, but it's I don't understand, I don't get it. And
and I think people, they get so offended when you say that. When you turn around and say, but why the fuck is Pride Month the same month as Men's Month? Can we not give men one day? Just one day, 1 month, and then I'm sit down and I'm like, well, you guess what? If you sit on my side and you do this, and I've been doing this for 6 years, let me tell you something. 1 day is not enough. 1 month is not enough. 1 year is not enough. You might as well give these guys a whole goddamn century at this point.
Yeah.
Because there's so much damage that needs to be changed around.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really sad.
So every day is Men's Day. Every day should be Men's Mental Health Day, because that's the only way we're going to start seeing these numbers. And I think what is really fucking scary is that go and look at the figures for young boys under the age of 18 and see how they're rising with suicide. That is where. So there's no signs right now of this slowing down.
No. I've had lots of friends that have taken their life, and it grinds my gears. Like I've said this before. I had a buddy of mine, and he was in the hospital because he was suicidal, and they let him walk out, and 2 days later he took his life.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. In the UK, especially over in England, that's a standard thing. In the UK, there's a lot of times men, they're just getting turned away. They don't even get a chance to go inside, or they're there for 72 hours, they get let out, and then they committed suicide.
Yeah, it's really sad. And you know what, like me being through that, I mean, people maybe not agree with me, but like I understand why someone wants to do that because they want that pain to go away, right? And if you're feeling like this, like I understand. I understand where you're coming from. You know, I understand that you just want that pain to stop and you've tried things. But I mean, I'm telling you there's light. Like listen to this podcast, reach out to the people around you. I mean, you guys know my email address. You can reach out to me. I'll be there for you. It's just there's always another way. Like please, but I understand, like I really do. It's just it's sad, and some men don't want therapy, you know, some just want to talk, right, you know,
And I
like
think
just not to
that's,
therapists.
but I also think that's why we see such a success in what we're doing on TikTok or
Mm-hmm.
Instagram or this, is because we're not speaking from some fucking book. I turn around and I'm like, listen, I was an ex-gang member. I was in prison. I was in addiction. I've been an alcoholic. I've been homeless. I get it, bro. I get it. And it fucking sucks. And because I speak to them like that, and I'm speaking to them like they're a man, and not like they're some crazy person with some crazy disorder, we don't speak like that. So because of that, it's like we're keeping this whole thing so raw and so legit and so logical for them as well. I think that's why we're seeing the success we are as well, because they really don't want someone speaking to them like, so how are you feeling today? It's
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah,
hot. You know, when you're speaking to a grown ass man that way, you're not going to get it anywhere.
it's
You know,
almost like belittling in a sense,
it
or you know what
is.
I mean. Yeah, yeah.
It is, especially like imagine if you're sitting there speaking to some veteran sitting over from you and you're like, so what happened? Why did that hurt you so much? I don't know, bitch. I was an Afghan.
Yeah.
You know,
or,
like
or
that's
or how does that make you feel? I fucking hate that. Like you can see
exactly.
how I'm here right now. I need your help, you
You know,
know.
or when they turn around and say, "So, what do you need from this? What are you expecting from
Yeah.
this session?" Well, I don't fucking know. You're the professional. You tell me.
Yeah, I've had that. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
kind of, you know, and I think that's where, you know, when people are coming to us and they're speaking to us, we're not doing all of that shit. If you
Yeah.
want to come to us and you're in Discord and you want us to call you and you just want to sit there and rant and rave for hours to Butters or Lucian or Cornbread or whoever you may be speaking to, they're gonna sit there and listen. They're gonna let you just rant. You don't need to worry about if you're swearing. You don't need to worry about if what you're saying. We don't care. We're gonna keep it confidential. You go ahead. You do you. You say what you need to say. And um, you know, we try and relate. You know, people fuck up. People make mistakes and that. You know, and it's funny because we're so quick at judging each other's mistakes, and we're so quick at looking at people and saying like, this person did wrong, this person's done this and this and this, and I'm like, bro, can you go and look in the mirror and tell me you've never made a mistake, you've never done wrong,
Hmm.
you haven't done that? Be careful judging other people when you're not completely, you know, clean yourself. No one in this world is fully clean. Everyone's made mistakes. And what is sad is so many of these men, they go to therapy and they sit down and they actually feel like they're judged. They do feel like someone is judging them and there's judgment upon them. And you got to be so fucking careful with that.
Hmm.
I try and keep it real. I try and keep it raw. And we all do. You know, we really do have people from all walks of life. And we have some people that live their life straight and narrow. And there's people like me that fucked up plenty of times in their life. But guess what? We all keep it raw. And I think that is really why so many people are attached and do come to us.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what we do here. It's all about raw, you know, telling straight up how it is. And sometimes, you know what, the truth is going to hurt your feelings, but you know what, you need to hear it because that's the truth. I'm not going to butter like with my friends, you know, a lot of my friends, like I'll just say straight up the truth. I'm not going to be like, "Oh yeah, you know what, maybe give her some time, go, you know, you guys were a great couple." No, man, she was bad for you. That shit, have your cry and move on. It's all about, you know, that's real love. That's real trying to help people, is telling you, though it's going to hurt your feelings, that's what it's about.
I mean, you've heard me when people come into the boxes and they, Char, should I leave her? And I'm like, why the fuck are you still there? Get the fuck out.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah, yeah,
Keep it real.
exactly. And I just want to give you my last question of the night. Last question. I want you to speak straight from the soul. And if you had every broken man in this world sitting right in front of you right now, what would you say to them?
That you're brutal, aren't
Sorry.
you?
What? These are great.
No,
It's not that.
that's a good one. That is a good one. I would tell them that the pain that you're feeling right now is not going to be the pain that you're feeling in 6 months' time or in a year's time, and you don't know where you're going to be in that time. So although it hurts and although it's painful, be true enough to yourself to know that that will go. It will. You will come on the other side of that, and when you are, look back at it. Don't forget it. just look back at it and have it as a reminder to why you keep on going. It's a lonely road getting up again, and it's a lonely road becoming your best version, but it's the best thing you've ever done. And it's okay to hurt, but you got to keep on going no matter what.
Killed it. Perfect.
That's what I can
That's
say.
it. That's you couldn't even say it better. That's perfect. So thank you, Charmaine. I just want to say thank you, not just for your words, but for your work, for building something bigger than yourself and standing in the fire and proving that love, empathy, and real adversary, yes, don't need a title or a trend. They need heart. To everybody listening, if this episode hits you, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone, post it, talk about it. Hell, start something, man, because we're losing men every day to silence, shame, and invisible battles. And and it's going to take all of us to do this. So join, do whatever you can. Reach out to your friends that are quiet. You never know what battles they're going through. I just want to say to all of you, you're seen, you're needed, and you're not alone. This is Raw Minds. Keep your mind raw, your heart wide open, and your truth louder than your fear. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.